I'm a trained architect from Chile. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be that architect that I need. I do argue a lot with myself, with the decisions I make, and there's always a decision that with some outcomes that you were not expecting. So it's kind of, damn it, how did I not expect that as the architect side? And then the other is, why didn't, it's like an internal conflict. And I'm going to be fully honest, even if that means that I lose a job, and I'm going to tell them, hey, you know what, your project for what you're looking for, it's not worth it. So in a way, COVID actually helped me.
Thank you so much for joining me on this OGC podcast. I'm very excited to have you. So you founded MIK Architecture. Can you please tell me your story? How did you start? How did you get into this? I know you founded it back in 2020, but you've been doing construction and development and probably even design for longer. I mean, you came to Miami in 2016.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were involved in your family business, which was about this even before then, right?
That's correct. Wow, you kind of did the whole story for me.
No, no, I'm sure you would. So
Well,
please tell
thank
me.
you so
Yeah.
much for having me, first of
Yeah.
all. It's actually my pleasure and joining you here in this podcast. So I don't want to bore some people so much, so I'll just cut to the chase. Yes, I came to Miami in 2016. I'm a trained architect from Chile,
Yeah.
and I came with looking to work on the family business, which was doing small houses and real estate, building them. At the beginning, we wanted to build and rent, the American dream,
Hmm.
have a lot of properties, rent them.
Yeah.
We realized real quick that it was easier to flip them, meaning build and sell
Hmm.
them, so we can do some lots of cycles.
Yeah.
And little by little, because I wasn't an architect here, but I could design them, and was managing, the real estate part. Little by little, I start realizing that were some few things that the architects I hired
Hmm.
weren't really delivering the way I needed them to drive a small business that is growing in the developer real estate development world.
Yeah.
So that's when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be that architect that I need, and I
Yeah.
started studying to get my license here in the U.S.
Hmm.
And it took me about 2 years, and once I did, I founded MIK Architecture to serve those developers in a developer mindset and a developer
Yeah.
way that you could actually lean on an architect as a partner of the design, not so much as just like a service provider.
Yeah. So that means that you can think exactly like how your clients, you can think exactly about your clients' needs, for them because you've been in their shoes.
I've been in the shoes. I currently am. I'm still developing little.
Yeah.
Of course, you always want to develop more.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, I can say that today that I am in the shoes of my architecture clients, and sometimes I am my own client, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and probably fun, you know. Do you argue with yourself more or less?
I do argue a lot with myself, with the
Yeah.
decisions I make, and there's always a decision that with some outcomes that you were not expecting.
Hmm.
So it's kind of, damn it, how did I not expect that as the architect side? And then the other is, why did, it's like an internal conflict.
A
But
hundred percent. Yeah, yeah. You beat yourself up a little bit for your mistake, but that's probably like a good sign. I think it means you care, right?
of course, yes, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm always telling my clients that construction and these projects are just hundreds and thousands of micro decisions. And that's what makes up a project pretty much. Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And well, the good thing of being in the both shoes is that you can measure the outcome or the collateral, uh, you know, outcome or the collateral things that can happen with one decision that may be not even involved in that sequence of things. So for example, if I decide as an architect to put one type of design or move one door one way or the other, then that decision affects a lot on the GC side, which in the end affects the developer because he gets a change order or whatnot. So it's that kind of micro decisions that can blow up out of proportion, and I'm the one that it will live with those consequences in the end,
Yeah.
after all the
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah, I understand. Actually, it's funny because I call that I was in a meeting with some clients yesterday, and they were thinking of doing like an addition or remodel, an addition remodel in their house. And I actually have like coined this phrase that I tell all my clients, and I call it the construction domino effect,
Yeah,
right? So
that's
these
great.
clients, they'll go and they wanted to do a big addition in the front and an addition in the back and add like a couple of wings. And they wanted to then remodel the kitchen and open up some walls, but they never thought about having to replace all the floor. And I'm like, well, if you do this and this, then you're going to have to do this, and then it's going to lead to that. And so one decision actually triggers like three or four. So I can totally understand where you're coming from. You know? No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and those decisions, well, those are, you you start making them early on before even you start designing, because like you said, your client, they wanted to do things, so they have like a vision, which is they just didn't understand what all the consequences was. And before they even started, it's great because that means you really can decide on what path to go to. You either go with that path with all these with all these domino effects things, or go to that path with this other domino effects. And that
Yeah.
is something we call the feasibility study. So
Yeah.
we start early on in our projects with that, which is like a foundation of any of our projects as a developer and an architect.
Hmm.
And that helps us a lot to really understand what can we do with the project, what the market is looking at that moment, understanding that the market changes. They might 2 years later, they might change what they want, but at the moment you're trying to point and speculate what they're gonna want in 2 more years, and then the small things that can have those consequences in a decision, we want to try to tackle them early on and try not to make changes in the process.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually on your website and I was seeing that you have a very well planned out process where you have the feasibility study, schematic design, design development, construction documents, and then construction observation. And I do a little bit of design build as well, not all of my projects, but I've sort of broken it down into these phases where it's a concept design and then pre-construction, which would be probably design development and construction documents and permitting, and then the actual construction. Because again, our license, we're GCs, we're not architects like you. Um, but I've seen that breaking things down, the way that you're breaking them down, actually helps your clients to have a much more successful project because they start getting much greater clarity at the very beginning versus, and this was going to be one of my questions was where I've seen some clients who they'll come to me and they sort of, and this is where like design, it helped me a little bit because I would get clients who they would come to me and they'd come up with a design that was way out of budget and they weren't happy with it afterwards. But I've seen that with that process, especially the process that I started to follow and probably the one that you established as well, your clients can be a lot more successful with that, right?
Yes, and I like to call that it's a structured process, and clients need structure, and especially not only naming things, also understanding what is in each step, and each step some like at the end of the steps, construction documents, they like overlap a little bit,
Hmm.
but especially at the beginning, you really need to go one step at a time, hit the milestones to go to the next one, and that's very important for the structural part. And I got caught off in an audio for a few seconds there. I don't know if you had, I don't know if you had a like specific question, but
No, no, I mean it's all still good here. It's all still good here. Um, but yeah, having that structured process, I think from the people who I've seen who have followed it, it's been a lot better. Because I've met with some people and they'll just hire someone to. They're like, hey, come look at this project, and they just get like a lump sum price of doing the construction documents, and that's all they want. And we're like, well, if you slow down a little bit, you're
yeah,
gonna go a lot faster, and you'll be a lot more
yes,
successful by just
yeah,
breaking it down, and you're probably gaining the client's trust every single phase. So
yeah,
it's only to their benefit. They won't end up being like these people who they, might have paid you, probably a firm like yours, I assume, between like 50, 100K, or maybe even more for construction documents. It would suck if they would lose all of that, right? Versus if they start earlier on with feasibility, schematic, if they decide to move forward, they're in the clear. But if they decide to maybe pause, they didn't spend as much, right? So
exactly,
it's a benefit
exactly.
to them. It's nothing but a benefit to them, right?
It you're absolutely right. And it's not only that in like in the deliverable sense, it's also a way to as a client to know the architect you're working with.
Hmm.
And in the sense because a project like these, you get married to an architect for 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So when you start early on with a feasibility, maybe because I offered like a standalone feasibility study
Hmm.
first, so we get to know it a little bit. I can learn about them and they can learn about me. And that also helps a lot, that relationship, that chemistry. I don't want to as an architect be stuck with a bad client for 2 years either. So
Yeah.
it's kind of that process that also helps. And I'm gonna be fully honest with them. I do charge the feasibility study, of course, and I'm gonna be fully honest, even if that means that I lose a job. And I'm gonna tell them, hey, you know what, your project for what you're looking for, it's not worth it. It's not worth
Hmm.
it. Or is not even possible. Or
Yeah.
if, for example, I'm doing a feasibility right now, they wanted a size of a house maximum, but the room sizes they wanted and the amount of rooms was like making it unfeasible. So to
Yeah.
achieve those room sizes and the total area that they wanted to build, they either had to concede and do it a bigger house or do smaller rooms. But you couldn't have both. The math
Yeah.
didn't work. And
Yeah.
the only way I could show them that it was, doing the feasibility study.
Yeah.
If I would have started designing, then I would have to charge, and there would be 3, 4 rounds of revisions because they
Yeah.
weren't working, and then that's all. At some point I'd start charging extra, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to ruin that relationship because they didn't understand that at the beginning.
Yeah, 100%. I think I heard a quote one time that said, your best jobs that you ever get in your career in building, are the ones you don't take. You know,
Yes.
there's always someone who's gonna say yes and create these false expectations. But it's a lot better to work with someone like you who's willing to tell somebody no, because you actually care about the final outcome rather than getting the project. That's awesome. That's awesome, and to work in that way just helps have a lot of clarity. And I think that's what clients value at the end of the day. That's like real deal clients, the best clients, they will value that, because they're looking for a genuine partner. They're not looking like for a Burger King order taker, you know.
Correct.
They're looking for
Correct.
they're hiring you as an expert, right?
Yeah. I mean, at
Um,
least the clients that I want, because there are many
yes,
clients that are just looking for that, or you're just describing it. I don't want those clients. No
yes, no,
thanks.
no, no, me neither, no, me neither. Um, so, you opened MIK in January 2020, was it?
That's right.
That was like right when COVID hit, which was a super interesting time. I think we talked about this in our phone call that we had to sort of prep for this. Can you just run everybody through that? And then what was that like? I know it was a crazy time. Um, and then how have you seen architecture and design, change in these last 6 years? Because it's more than half a decade actually, so it's been a while, right?
It has been a while. When now that you put it, I understand how long has it been. So right, I founded MIK without no, just like slightly hearing there was some type of virus named COVID something.
Yeah.
That's when I started working. 2 3 months later, everything was shut down. Um, Thankfully for me, it was a period that I had my first projects, my own first projects,
Hmm.
so I could keep working, and at the same time, I was a very lean firm, so it's just myself at the beginning.
Yeah.
I did hire, some people, some friends to help me out, all in their off time. But it was a very lean process. And during that year, I got to build the systems that I really wanted to work, that to make the firm work based on systems that change all the time, but at least you had like a base,
Yeah.
that foundation. And I took some marketing things and courses because, in architecture school, they do not teach you how to sell.
No,
So I had to
no.
take some of those, uh, you know, lectures and courses and whatnot. And it was all about that first, like, development of the business. And I could do it because I wasn't in the need to grow.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of work and I could manage it by myself, but at the same time I was already building things to so what I was ready to grow when I needed to. Which is
Yeah.
great because in 2021 everyone started calling.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and in 2021, if you were a new firm, if you were an old firm, everyone had work. At the beginning, of course, I started with low fees and I started
Hmm.
raising them little by little. I got burned by a few clients for sure,
Hmm.
like in all new firms, but it was a very fast growing time, and I managed it thanks to those systems that helped me during COVID. So in a way, COVID actually helped me.
Yeah. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that because as a company, and again, you came from like a family business. I also, OGC is a family business. My dad started it back in 2007, and I've been with him now for about 10 years. Um, but I agree with you
That's a complicated
100%.
time too.
Yeah, yeah, he got his GC license right before the crash, you know,
Wow.
and so he survived, and he made it, and we've been building it up ever since. But one of the main things that I always try and focus on is again like these systems and processes, and you would think everybody wants to work with Matias, just how you started, but you're actually developing a company, MIK Architecture, where it isn't just all based off of you, and now you can focus on the really high value tasks that are actually provide the greatest ROI to your clients, right? Like if you got
Correct.
to be whether it be invoicing, which I still do sometimes, maybe maybe you still do it sometimes, and you still got to be focusing on these tasks, rather than having your team member do it. You can't be focusing on how can I make this house more beautiful, or hey, let's brainstorm on these ideas, because I'm sure your clients are and the clients you work with are professionals, entrepreneurs, these people who also have strict timelines. Hey, let's meet at 3 p.m. You got to be there at 3 p.m. um, that type of
Yes.
situation. Um, and so they probably relate to the fact that you have established a firm. You're not just by yourself anymore. So I can totally relate to that. I think creating systems and processes for a company is what allows you to service your clients better, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And you nailed all of it because right now what my job basically is connect people, connect not only people together, but connect with people that can connect to me and to jobs and to investments and to someone that really wants to invest in and get a nice ROI, a ROI on it.
Yeah.
ROI.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned yeah, the system sometimes we do it. Yeah, sometimes we do it, but it's always like small things that we need just to take care and look at from time to time, and we just go back focus on connecting, networking, business development, and of course making sure that you're on top of the trends, on top of the new technology, on top of the new things are coming because those are the tools that are going to help you grow even more. And at the same time, it's going to help my clients or my partners to also grow. And now we're talking about a partnership and a long-term relationship that is growing together, which is almost as important as growing just a business and just myself. And and also making a project or a product we can call it that is actually valuable and wanted, you know, and it's not only about looking good, but it's also about trend because if you know 10 years ago something looked very good but today it doesn't, and now you have natural lights and warm materials and high quality finishes and a lot of landscaping and a lot of automation and the layout of the house. Those are the things that people are looking for today in a high-end house, and and wellness. I mean, and you asked me before what things have changed in COVID. First thing that changed in COVID, people are looking for offices in the house, at least one
Yes.
studio.
Hmm.
Absolutely. That's the first change. The second change is now wellness. People are looking for a cold plunge, a space for a gym, even if it's small or large,
Sauna.
even better. A sauna, a massage table. I mean,
Hmm.
before it was impossible to think that you could get like your space to do massages. No, people want people come the masseurs coming to their house. They don't want to leave. They already live in a resort and like their own oasis. Why would they want to leave? Get the car to get the massage? No, people come to them now. So those and you know sauna and the pool and the hot
Indoor
tub.
outdoor living, a lot of people have
Exactly.
been doing like I call them like total property transformation. People build the house but sometimes forget the backyard, and that's part of the property as well, right?
Yeah, I
And the
never understood that.
landscaping. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. There's this other guy that I follow on Instagram that he's also from Chile. He's Versa Homes. I don't know if you've seen him, and I think he
Not really.
just builds these really really high end homes in Canada. And he spoke about a client that he had built a $3 million home, and all he had in his backyard was like a concrete slab. He had a nice property, but he just completely just put all the money into the home, um, and nothing outside, no pool, no outdoor kitchen, and I just finished this really big like 1,000 square foot addition, and one of the main components of the addition was this like house wide gallery where they walk out and then they have the pool, and we did all the landscaping and an outdoor kitchen, and it completely changed the house. So what's your experience with the project as a whole? I mean, because you obviously you designed the beautiful houses, but then outside of the house's footprint, what have you been doing?
It's part of the house. It's completely part of the house because you got not only to live in it and to use it, but your windows face something. And that something is right outside the house. So
Yeah.
when your windows face the ugly neighbor's wall, then you have to landscape that one in front of that window. because
Mm-hmm.
now you're looking. It's completely different to look at a wall from the window, even it's 20 20 feet away, 10 feet away, whatever, than looking to a landscaped view. And we're talking about ground, the ground, 1 or 2 story homes. They don't
Yeah.
have big views. You're not
Mm-hmm.
on a 40, 60 story building with a view of the whole skyline. No, you're not in a house. So your view is right immediately after the house, which is the backyard. And that landscape is key. And what we do and we love to do a lot is that we design from outside to the inside.
Oh,
What do I
okay.
mean about that? That's why our homes are all, they're spec homes, most of them, but they're custom spec homes. They're not just like we just design a layout and reuse it in multiple sites because it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
We look for the trees that are nice, that can survive the construction, that are not invasive because the city makes us remove them. Um, and we use that to frame a window. Sometimes it's the bedroom, sometimes it's the living room, sometimes it's the kitchen, sometimes it's just the end of the hallway. It's a
Yeah.
completely different way of living when you're in a hallway that is maybe with a little bit of light, but ends to nothing or just a wall or just a corner, than ending that hallway to a window that is looking to an amazing tree that is well lit at night, that there's privacy because it's not just facing, it's like in between walls and you can frame that. It's completely different picture. And then in the ground level, in the living, the family room, having that easy connection to the backyard, to the summer kitchen, to the pool, um, to a covered terrace that you can sit down and enjoy without the sun hitting you in the face every time. That is key. What we like to do is that when you come to a house, you can't always have it, but most of the time you come into the house and in the foyer, you can look straight back. You can
Oh, yeah.
almost
Yeah.
go all the way to the backyard, through the pool, everything lit in the between, and it's just like a wow. That's the
Yeah,
wow
you
effect that we want to get it.
yeah,
We
you
only can
take
get
it
it
all
once.
in. Yes, yeah, 100%. That's amazing that you mentioned that because I'm working on a job now where we followed that same concept. I designed a house and I was like, well, here's the front door. We couldn't do a really big front door, but after the front door, you have like the living room, and then you have like some floor to ceiling windows, 20-foot sliders.
Yes.
And then through the slider, you look at the back porch, and then through you can see from the front door, you can see the living room and kitchen, the sliders, the back porch, then a pool, and then the canopy at the back. And so,
It's amazing.
um, can't do that in every project. But I think we had to be intentional about that, which is it sounds
Absolutely.
like you're super intentional with that vision and that indoor outdoor living. Man, it would be interesting if they did a study because you mentioned wellness. And I know that when you have like all these trees and this like tropical setting, I'm sure they clean the air around your house a lot more too, huh?
If it's not a scientific thing, it's for sure an emotional thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's not only during the day, it's also during the night. When it's well lit, you have an intentional lighting of the trees and the landscape.
Mhm.
Even when I show the homes, like very few times I show the home, I always go and turn on everything on. Even if it's
Yes.
in the middle of the day, even if it's like the sunniest day ever.
Hmm.
Lights give them that character and that vibe that really, really makes the space better if it's well lit, of course, and if it's well thought of. So if it works inside the house, it's obvious it's going to work on the outside
Yeah,
during the night, during the dawn,
yeah,
or at the end of the day. But it's has to also be intentional. And when you sit down in the almost dark inside the house with all everything nicely lit, and
yeah,
you see outside and can actually see the trees, see the shadows, how they look, that greenery with the yellowish light that you can figure out with a well lit pool. I mean, that sensation there is key.
what you've just explained sort of aligns with one of these like big questions that I have, because you're talking a lot about lighting for the landscaping. That's obviously a very intentional decision. So my question that I have written down here really is, what are some of the upgrades that you as an architect um in homes, that a homeowner who might want to be building a house where they're gonna invest $1 to $3 million to build a house, whether it be a custom home, a very large addition, or a very significant remodel. What are some of these upgrades that these homeowners might not be familiar with, that if a builder recommends them, the homeowner wouldn't see the value, but you, as an expert who's been doing this and doing so many homes, that you immediately see the value of it? Because I know a lot of the homeowners that I work with are like, this is my first time doing this. But this is not your first time doing this. You
Yeah.
know?
It's a tough question because, w 1 to 3 million in a remodel is a lot different than a 1 to 3 million in a new construction.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are, of course, some basic things that should always be taken care of. And I want to talk about like fundamentals here more
Yes.
than specific items. So anything that requires anything structural, that require, for example, windows
Hmm.
is a big item, and you want always big windows, large windows that, give natural light, hopefully a little bit protected when they're facing the sun.
Hmm.
If not, you have to maybe reduce them a little bit, but windows is a big thing because once you remodeling and living in it, changing a window gets a lot complicated.
Yeah.
So that's like one thing that and you always really want a nice window, whether wherever you want, wherever you are. The window you can cover it with drapes and curtains. You can't open a window and make it larger, like easily.
Hmm.
Um, so that's one thing that I always think, because natural light is very important. The second thing I would say, like an upgrade to a house, is pre-wiring. Pre-wiring low voltage, pre-wiring automation, pre-wiring. There's there's companies that help you pre-wire to understand cameras,
Yeah.
alarms, Cat 6 cables for the TV and the PlayStation and the other TV. Even if you don't plan to do it, just it doesn't cost too much, and it's an easy thing. If you have it, you can upgrade easily. If you don't have
Yes.
it, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
And in the fundamentals here is not like the pre-wiring itself, but it's anything that is going to make it future proof.
Yes.
So pre-wiring is like the easiest item to talk about. Another one I do is when new construction is okay, you don't have the budget for an elevator, but you might want it 5, 8, 10 years down the
Yes.
road. So just build the space for it. You need a pit, you need one structural wall, and that's it. Use it as a storage for now.
Hmm.
Just place the elevator in a place that it works for the house, and you cover, you do the tower, and then you put a wood flooring, a wood structure, and you just put the floor just like a common house, and it's a storage. But then
Yes.
if 5 or 6 or whatever, or if you have a, God forbid, you have an accident and you're in a wheelchair, you can transform that easily and put the elevator in, and you can still be at the house
Yeah.
versus trying to do that afterwards,
Yeah.
you know?
That's so cool that you said that. I did not expect you to mention the elevator as a future proof. I did not expect that at all, because I just did a big a remodel on a waterfront house um in Fort Lauderdale, and we had to put an elevator in like the center of the house, and it was a lot of money. The elevator itself was maybe about like 60 grand, like the elevator company. They have some that are as low as I think like 30, but the amount of structural modifications that we had to make in that house
It's crazy.
to have an elevator in place. And when you're designing these dream homes and you're trying to future proof them, and we're trying to follow the concept of aging in place, right? Or multi-generational homes, the value that that has is massive, you know, versus maybe having to put like sort of like a lift in the staircase. Now you actually
Yeah.
have an elevator. Uh, that insight was, I did not expect it. That was crazy. That was an awesome idea. Yeah.
You're welcome. Yeah. It it works a lot actually. It works very much.
Yeah. Talk.
Small other things like adding some plumbing, maybe for a laundry closet in the second level, if you're not doing
Yeah.
already a laundry in the second level. Small things like electrical conduit for the future solar panels, maybe,
Hmm.
or for a future generator.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Having those small things, anything that it gets buried in the into the slab or into the walls that you can imagine, and you can, sometimes it's easy as, hey, Claude, help me brainstorm some things that I can upgrade later in my house, but I should like pre-do now so it makes it easier. And those things I'm pretty sure is going to come up. Conduits for electrical things, for the car chargers. Sometimes we always add one charger right now in the houses,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
But you never know in the future. Maybe you need to two car chargers.
Yeah.
That means that the electrical panel needs that small potential upgrade eventually.
Yes. Yeah. So make it a little bit bigger. And you know what? This is actually coming back, reminding me of something you said earlier on, where you talk about forming really long-lasting relationships with your clients. Um, because they should probably be talking to you about what their ultimate vision is, especially when they're building like a dream home, or if they're developing for a client and maybe they don't want to, you know, they want to develop the main house, but they have a lot that could probably give them the option of, developing a guest house, once they find a buyer who they're like, hey, this is my forever home. They have that option of doing a guest house. I remember I did a project for this one client. It's the fourth project I'm doing with them now. Started with a simple driveway, then that driveway turned into a back patio, then the back patio turned into a master suite addition, and now the fourth project that I'm in, for them now, is it's gonna be like a guest house and a pool and like a pergola and outdoor barbecue. Now, once I finish this, like their home is complete. But it's been 8 years that I've been working with these clients. I did the master suite addition about 2 or 3 years ago, but they told me, they're like, hey, one day I'm gonna want a guest house. Well, the one day has finally arrived. I mean, time flies, faster than we expect. So correct me if I'm wrong, but your clients should, even if they don't do the massive project, they should probably be talking to you about like the ultimate forever vision, right?
That is a very good way to point it. Yes. And sometimes it's additions and extensions. Sometimes you're already building to the limit, so it's not that, but it's something else.
Mm-hmm.
And that master plan it's what it's all about. Sometimes it's a small thing such as, so for example, one of the designs we do, and if it's a way to future proof or easily modify because we're doing spec homes without the buyer in mind, we haven't sold it yet. So sometimes we put a guest bedroom right next to the studio, thinking
Okay.
that maybe that guest bedroom might be a generational room, someone that needs assistance, and that assistance can sleep in the studio. So what we do is we pre-frame the opening for the door between both rooms. We just cover it up, but it's there, and it's easy to just open the door. The frame is there. You insert a new door, and then voila, the rooms are connected. So what we do is if there's any electricity going through, we just go all around the door. If there's any pipes, we don't cross the door because then it gets complicated. We try to think of those. You can't do it always, but we try to
Yeah.
think of those small things. Another example is that we couldn't decide for a room to either enter through the left or the right. We decided on one, but if we wanted to give that flexibility to someone, because it changed the like the bed position and the closet, it
Yeah.
makes it a little bit bigger or smaller. Um, so we did the same thing, the same concept. Let's do it here, but let's frame it like if it was another door over here, and we just cover it with drywall. But every installation, everything goes around it, you know. And small things like that, it's not only extensions like I'm mentioning. It's or even in the extension, it's like, hey, I'm gonna extend here in a probably near future. Okay, so let's build that door opening right away because we're gonna extend to that place, and now we can have that master plan. We just cover it up, and when they're ready, it's easy to open and start working on it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's again just tremendous insight. I did something similar for the same client in Coral Gables, and when I did, I had to when I was doing the master edition, bring all of the electrical up to code. So I had to completely
Yeah.
relocate the panel to the back of the master suite, and I ran the underground in such a way I could have run it straight to the post, but I actually ran it away from where the guest house was going to be
Wait.
built, so I wouldn't
Mm,
have to rerun the underground, right?
that's perfect.
and,
Yeah.
and redo the trench. So, but that whole idea of framing a door opening, that's the first time I heard that, but that's genius. It makes it so easy for someone to now go cut the drywall, right?
Yeah.
And
And
just
and and,
install a door.
and you
It
tell
turned
me
out
how much more money does it cost to frame a door and
for
then covering
me,
it?
I would not even I would not even charge the client more money to do that. And I'm sure the
That's the thing.
electrician who has to run the wiring, he would not cut the
Hmm.
and but you know what it does do is now you get that door. If you have the plan, you know where it's at. You can now cut that drywall, hang the door, case it, and put probably the first coat of paint on that door and on that casing same day versus a week long project where you have to do framing, you have to now redo the drywall, you have to do all this patching, you have to do all this stuff. Because the way that you do the door frame is you just put the studs on each side and then the header on the top, and you just go
Exactly.
right through. So that is massive. It's such a smart thing to do. I mean, just even thinking about it, I'm thinking out loud because you just like lit me up to something that I hadn't thought of.
Oh, I'm glad
Um,
I could be helpful today.
Oh my gosh, no, so much. Um, Let me ask you this. I got a couple more questions, and this has to do more with costs. And I could be wrong about this question, but I want to get your perspective. So I feel like sometimes a lot of people attribute a project's value to its aesthetic beauty, right? Almost like they see the construction project like it's a painting, and it is. Architecture is a form of art, I believe. But when I look at my contracts that I'm building out for my clients, finishes are only about 30 to 40% of the cost, right? Where do you see this? Or do you see any disconnect that maybe homeowners should be more aware of so they don't just see, oh, wow, this house is so pretty, or, you know, we're spending $1 million on this home, but I'm not getting the finishes that I wanted, but it's still a 4,000 square foot home. Like, what are you thinking?
Well, there's a lot of components there, and the value of the house. I would say one of the big items is actually the location, the land. So when you say $1 million home in, I don't know, Coconut Grove, that's actually on $1 million land.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But in other places, it may be a $100,000 land and the rest is just a home, you know. And then the
yeah,
finishes vary a lot because of that. So when you say yeah, the 30% of the value of a house and finishes, it varies a lot. Um, and it it's kind of deceiving because you can't really, maybe you're referring to the cost of the construction more than the
yeah. The cost,
the
yeah, the
sale.
cost
Okay.
of
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
construction. Yes.
Got it. Maybe I got that wrong. Okay, so yeah, I don't manage that well the numbers and percentages, but I'm gonna say that there's so much you can do in finishes that it could be 90% of the cost of the construction if you wanted to. This
Oh,
like the
no.
sky is such a
You
limit
if you
that you can
upgraded to like
blow it
full,
up completely.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. That's the crazy thing about the US and the market in the US. I couldn't even imagine doing something similar back in Chile. There's no way.
yeah.
That being said, it's complicated because you're talking about the homeowner, right? The
Hmm.
homeowner's always going to have their budget, and they always want to have the nicest thing for themselves. So it's
Hmm.
kind of an emotional state. I like to work with developers because it's a number thing
Hmm.
and a market thing. So sometimes you don't like the number, but it's going to help you sell faster, which in the end gives you a better ROI
Yeah.
than just spending less and leaving the house on the market longer. And so it's a number of things. For the
Yeah.
homeowners, it's an emotional thing, and it's very complicated to pinpoint those finishes like the way you're asking.
Hmm.
I completely deviated of the question, but
No, no, no.
but it's not an easy answer either.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe we could look at it this way. Um, the houses that I've seen on your website are absolutely beautiful. This is definitely luxury, if not some people would call it ultra luxury projects. Um, and in some of the best markets, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, I believe, Miami Beach. Um, and I get calls sometimes from people who want me to build them a home. And I'm on the phone with them and they tell me, oh, yeah, well, such and such builder down the block was quoting me 100, 150, $200 a square foot to build me this beautiful home. And yet I'm looking at some of these other homes that we're talking about six, 800, $1,000 a
That's
square
yeah,
foot. I can't even fathom, what is being produced at that lower level. I haven't done any of those
yeah.
lower level projects. I'm really trying to work on people's dream homes. But where do you think sort of like that disconnect is coming from? And if a client is talking to two different builders and they both tell them, hey, it's going to be $500 a square foot without plans. Just a lot of clients they talk to, hey, how much does a 5,000 square foot house cost to build? And they're like, oh, $500 a square foot. Do you think that those builders are envisioning the same home when they're giving the client that $500 a square foot expectation, or could it be vastly different?
If two of them come with the same number,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Without like a plan, like an architect, and
right?
then obviously that's where you come in to provide that clarity.
Yes.
But
Yes. So anyone that tells a number is either just market driven because it's like the tendency right now and it's like the average
yeah,
without having plans.
mm-hmm,
And I would say it like anyone that comes in without plans and just out of the blue they say 500, it's that's like the average cost today to build a house, a standard house. It doesn't have a seawall, it doesn't have maybe piles, it doesn't have any specific items that you can put it on it. And I would say yeah, maybe 500 with high end finishes, but maybe in the low end of the high end stuff.
yeah,
Still good things, still
mm-hmm,
still a good Italian kitchen, still a good Miele or Wolf or whatever appliance, still full tile bathrooms and a nice porcelain floor,
mm-hmm,
big windows, still all of that. But then you're still missing maybe small detail items. Maybe the baseboard is recessed, maybe a little bit more lighting in the ceilings and the LED strips and the niches with lights, and then wall paneling and a little bit more built-in decorations or
yeah,
built-in elements. And those things start to add up and pile up and pile up, and you can easily go to the 650s. And this is just the vertical house.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about some people talk include the landscape in that, and the driveway and the garage is included, the driveway and that sort of stuff. But
Hmm.
uh, the pool could be included sometimes, but it depends on the pool. If you're doing a big pool,
Yeah.
a small
So
pool, etc.
I think that's and I think that's exactly what we're talking about. It's almost like even hard to dictate what somebody would really even include in that amount,
It,
and house designs are so varied, you know.
yes,
So I'm
yes.
wondering if these different like even when I'm giving like when I'm asked for like a price per square foot, I don't even want to like answer the question because everything I'm trying to do is custom. And then you're on this phone call with someone and you tell them, hey, it'll be 500 or $700 a square foot, and they're like, oh, but so and so, this other guy that I talked to, and it's always this other guy, that's his name, this other
That's
guy
always yeah, yeah.
that I talked to,
I love to
gave
meet
me.
this other guy.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to meet this other guy. It's like, oh, 500, and he's including everything you're doing. And I'm like wondering, I was like, man, am I being like, is this like a negotiation tactic where I'm just they're like trying to push me down?
Probably,
They want to
yeah,
do the
probably,
job with me, but they're trying to like push me down to like,
yeah,
you know, that special number.
yeah.
I don't know. And I really wanted to get your perspective because I feel like it's so weird, you know?
So funny that you asked. This week I've been studying the projects that we've done with as developers because I have all the
Yes.
insights, and we do
Yeah.
cost plus. So I get the insights from my GC and from the multiple GCs that I work with. Um, and I started to study it. I asked Claude, Claude, help me do this study. I got
Yeah.
these numbers. Tell me what other numbers you need on. Started working on them.
Yeah.
And the point was that I wanted to do a guesstimate of a project, like just like you mentioned.
Hmm.
I got this lot. I can understand more or less what I can build, and this is with my developer hat.
Yes.
Um, More or less what I can build. What's like the maximum, and I go through all this process like of this is what we can build, but the neighborhood is has smaller homes, new construction, so we can't go too big because then the price blows up and they don't pay it, and so we start working on that. And then once we have like the number in of the size of the house or whatever, we start looking at whether it's septic tank, whether it has a seawall, whether how many floors, etc. How big is the lot compared to the what we can build? Sometimes we have Coconut Grove lot is small. It's a small proportion of the lot
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
what you can build, and so you don't have that much landscape. But in a Pinecrest
Hmm.
job, it's the other way around. Have a
Yes.
huge lot with a small house, so the landscape build is huge. To look good.
Yeah.
So I worked on this. How much is the vertical thing gonna cost? How much is the high end finishes gonna cost as an
Hmm.
addition? And then proportionate to the land, how much is that? The pool, more or less, I'm gonna know
Yeah.
because of the shape of the house. Is gonna be more or less a pool, and then pool by area, whatever. And then small items, doesn't need septic, doesn't need a well, doesn't need
Hmm.
to connect to the sewer for the first time, which is another 30 grand. Are we gonna put an elevator? Small ticket items. So it's
Yeah.
basically a small questionnaire that I did, and with all this intelligence of the other constructions, I could pinpoint that, for example, a standard house, just a vertical thing without any finishes, like this just
Yeah.
paint
Yeah.
finishes,
Yeah.
um, it would be around $300 a square feet, more or
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you start adding finishes, and it can go all the way to 400, just a vertical thing.
Yeah. And then amenities, which is what you're talking about, the pool, a special driveway, extra landscaping.
And then
So,
that can grow up very quickly to $5 a square foot under AC. We're talking.
yeah.
So because that $200,000 landscape under a 6,000 square foot home
Yeah.
carries a lot more weight than a 30, $40,000 landscape under that same size of home. So it's
Yeah.
very complicated to get a phone call and just answer out of the blue without asking 10,000 questions. Okay, but what is your house gonna entail?
Yeah. Yeah. So they should definitely, so I agree with that 100%. So what that says is they should definitely do a feasibility study with MIK
Yes,
and then a
please.
schematic design and then they should, get a price. Yeah, yeah. 100%. It's incredible, And it's funny because sometimes I'll talk to homeowners and then they'll say, "Oh, how much do you think this and this will cost?" And then I get scared to answer because even I don't fully know until the design is like done. But it's funny you keep mentioning Claude. Claude has been my best friend for like the past 6 months. Since
Yeah, no intention of sponsoring anything here, by the way.
yeah, yeah. And I found that that's the best thing that I could do as well is take the historical data from the other jobs that I've completed, and that's where I get my numbers from. And I feel like a lot of our smart homeowners, they are starting to use AI and they're starting to use technology. But
Yes.
my feeling is that they're getting, and even when I speak, even me as what I would consider more of an expert, obviously in construction, I do this every day. I see the feedback that I get from the internet online, and I feel like they're just giving me almost like national averages, right? On numbers where building in the United States is so different. The way we build here with everything is, reinforced concrete. Maybe we'll do trusses, but we'll do a lot of like concrete decks. Is very different from like a framed house. If I have a client who's like coming from Ohio and they'll tell me, I built a 3,000 square foot garage for 50K, why is this addition
I
costing me,
wish. I
you
wish.
know? And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. So definitely, uh, I actually have been starting to do what you do, but it's great. You have so much historical data. I mean, I'm looking at, your work and your projects and, um, yeah, it's
That's
like,
true, but you still have to use like the most recent ones,
yeah,
and I did the study with 6 projects,
yeah,
not more than that.
yeah,
But you're right. I mean, people ask AI how much is it gonna cost in Miami, and it really comes into the average, which is what is the average, in Miami. It could be I don't know where they would pull the data AI, it
yeah,
doesn't, there's no
exactly right.
public other than those 1 or 2 pages that you had to pay for to get the information. But where would AI get the so yeah, I would tell people do not trust the public
Yeah,
data. And at the same time, code changes, code changes all the time. And
yeah,
even with the historic data, we are having a code change in December. Electrical things are going to come up, and I believe some small mechanical things always go up
yeah,
every single year. They change the code for the mechanical stuff, and you have to change the machines. And those are data that an expert like you all already know because you've lived it, and no AI will be able to understand that because it hasn't happened. You know it's going to happen, but AI doesn't and doesn't know how much it's going to cost. But you already
yeah.
have like the sense and the talking to the providers and networking. And that I think is a lot more valuable than just asking AI how much is my house going to cost with these plans. It doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that also lines up with uh architecture fees, right? Because you'll find a whole bunch of like draftspersons who they'll be very happy to like, drop some plans for you, for a very low fee, and then they're not here, and or you can buy some plans online, but then you're like, oh, and what I've
You have to
noticed is
adapt it.
that you have to, apart from adapting them, I just feel like it's almost like buying a house that you have to remodel, you know? it's almost like buying a house that you have to remodel, and then you they haven't been made for these specific conditions that you discovered during feasibility. And for example, I was doing some research on Coconut Grove because there was a client who had two houses side by side, but her houses are in a specific district where one of the zoning codes specifically says you cannot, have a like for like house next to each other. So she could not design one house and then just do like a mirror image and flip it to the next house. They had to be two completely unique designs.
Don't tell
So,
me they found out during permitting.
no, I mean, I informed them. I informed
Oh,
them that
good,
this is
good.
confusing, but they might have, and then they would have been like, "Oh, what happened here?" And it's like, well,
Yes.
now that would have been a tough conversation to have, but that's probably why people should follow again that structured process.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
you know, so let me ask you a question, Matthias. What are you working on now, right now, that you're most excited about at MIK?
Um, well, I have a very interesting project in Pinecrest that
Okay.
we're working. We It's kind of the first project we're doing after refining a lot of the interior work, and it has
Hmm.
all these new programs that we've been planning since a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So that's in construction, and very excited about that one. It's an amazing lot, and we even left the space to put eventually a paddle court,
Yeah.
pickleball court or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't recall which one of those, but it has a space in it, and it has the wellness area. It has an amazing outdoor spaces to live and experience. You have the pool, you have like the barbecue, and then you can have the pickleball court. So it's like all connected together. The house is connected from the inside to the outside also. But the interesting thing there is, I'm very excited because of the investors backing that up too,
Hmm.
and it really feels like those inviting homes with a nice mature landscape that we preserved as much as we could because the city made us cut some trees
Yeah.
down. The city made us
Yeah.
cut trees down because we're invasive, and it's like it's not bothering anyone. Why? But well, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's those homes that you you kind of want to live in it, and you also kind of want to invite a lot of people because it's like a love to host it. So
Yes.
I'm excited to finish that up, stage it, and host some events there. It is a house that we're gonna sell. And on the other
Okay.
side, we have some exciting new projects that are not that big, Coconut Grove area,
Hmm.
and one in particular that it was one of the first ones we designed as a basement in
Mm.
Miami. Yes,
Wow.
of all my
That's
projects, the only one that has a basement.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's probably the first one I've heard about. I've seen like understory parking, but a basement, that's awesome. You
yeah,
know?
it is on. So there's a part in Coconut Grove that is like higher, and the
Yeah,
water table is very very deep, like
yeah,
not normal Miami deep,
yeah.
and it allow us to put a basement. It's not the first time I've heard it in that
Hmm.
area. That's actually the fourth house in the area that was gonna have a basement,
Okay.
which is weird. 4 years ago, I have never heard about a basement, and now
Yes.
it's the fourth one. But yeah, it's really exciting. It's interesting, and we already got the permits approved. We're just waiting for
Awesome.
that construction financing things to work out.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell the developer to send it to you. See if you can quote it.
Yeah, sure. Sure, sure, sure. I appreciate that. And Matthias, who is MIK built for? Who should be reaching out to you?
So MIK is a developer focused firm for residential projects, mostly high end single family. But anyone can reach us. We do cherry pick homeowners that want to build with us, that want to
Mhm.
have this structured way and, you know, understanding things, and that really want a design partner in their process. So we only have capacity for a few people during our year, so we really cherry pick them,
Hmm.
and it has to be a project that we really are excited to work on, or a person that is very interesting and that we know we can mutually benefit. We don't want to just take value; we want to give value, especially the
Yeah.
last part,
Hmm.
and and that's what actually MIK is for. We are mostly focused on developers, but we're happy to anyone that thinks like a developer or wants to build their own dream house with thinking of their family, their enjoyability, by also structuring their process and the journey and the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of
Awesome.
loaded answer, but yeah.
No, I mean, it sounds great. It sounds like, developers and then people who are really thoughtful about their build. They're not going to come and, just treat you like, oh, yeah, I want this and that. Somebody who's going to really enjoy the process. They can follow your structured process, so they can
Correct.
benefit from it. And then you could also just maximize your creativity and help them to really build something unique. That's awesome.
And
Um,
again, it's a design partnership. So I'm your design partner. It's yeah, I'll help you design it because I'm the expert, but it's really your design. I'm extrapolating that design from your head
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And that's what's really meaningful about it. It's not just hire me and I'll forget about you until I come to with a design. No, we're building this and we're designing this together. It's in the whole process of it, and it's a way to enjoy the journey too.
100%. It makes it a lot more fun, right?
Absolutely.
Makes it a lot more fun.
Especially the first part when we're designing.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. And Matthias, what is the best way for someone to start a conversation with you, reach out to you? I know that you have, let me see if I could even probably even like share the screen where I just see this, your work, some of these beautiful jobs. Should they go to MIK architecture? What should they do?
Yeah, the best way would be go to the website at mikarchitecture.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can browse through the work process or through our work. I mean, you can also look at our process. I think it's up there also,
Yeah.
just to read
Yeah.
out how we work and our structure.
Yes.
And if you really want to know more, really want to have a chat with me, I'm very open. You can either contact me through the contact there. There's
Mm-hmm.
a very dynamic form. Just tell
Yeah.
me who you are. If you're a homeowner or a developer with a new project, or you would like to collaborate with me, or something else, even you just choose those options and answer the questions, and we'll get an email. We'll answer you back, understand what you're looking for, and we can book a meeting and start chatting. Either
Yeah.
that, or you can also send us an email to hello@mikarchitecture.com,
Mm-hmm.
or actually it's hello@mikarch.com.
Yeah. This one.
That one there, yes. And it's the same thing. Just let us know what you're contacting us about, and we're happy to reply as soon as we can. Sometimes we take a little bit more than a day.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, if we will inquire a little bit, we are very good. I'm very good at asking questions too, not just talking,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
really want to understand what you're looking for. What is like, how can I help you? That's what I want to try to accomplish. And
Yeah.
once I get understand that, we can book a meeting and keep working from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say we have two ears and one mouth, you know. So so
Love
that's
that. Love that.
I agree with that. Yeah, and you have some beautiful projects and also
Thank you so
probably
much.
the people who I mean this one is the one that I mean I don't know. I keep seeing your work. I keep coming back to this one just because the color scheme is I love it.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
so beautiful, dude. Um and so, again, the people who should be reaching out, it doesn't just have to be people from Miami, right? You could get people from New York, people who want to move from California or, Texas, other states, even
Yes.
other places, people who want to come down with money from, Brazil or maybe Chile or other
Correct.
countries, they could always reach out to you, right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. You can come from wherever you want. We do most of our projects locally, so the project should
Yeah.
be around Miami, South Florida in
Yeah.
general. We have in the west coast too of Florida, not west
Yeah.
coast of the U.S.
Yeah.
But you can, if you're from out of town, we're very used to that. Most of our clients are from out of town.
Yeah.
So we have a
Yeah.
very structured process and a very structured communication system too, because we
Yes.
know how it feels like being out of town and trying to be following up with your project from far away.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.